Let's do this thing. Okay. Awesome. Megan. So I got Megan Lautz today. I said that right?
You did it. You did it.
Okay.
I know it's a hard
All right.
one.
Yeah. Okay. So Megan, she's on the show today. We're going to be talking to Megan about all things firefighter nutrition, or at least some of the things firefighter nutrition. So Megan is a civilian dietitian who specializes in firefighter nutrition. She's got a couple of exciting things that she's going to tell us about today. So I'm not going to go into it, but Megan, I'm going to let you kind of tell everybody your origin story. What got you into firefighting nutrition? How'd you get started?
Yeah. Thank you for having me. My name's Megan. I'm a registered dietitian civilian. So blood and guts kind of knocked me out of this profession. So I specialize in first responders. So firefighters is kind of what I mostly push on social, but I also work with police. And I've been working with large departments in the DMV area of about 14 to 1,500 firefighters, 1,600 police officers for the past 8 years. So since 2017. And basically, I just got lucky. I think a lot of people think that I was just like, what's my niche going to be? Firefighters. And I was like, no, I got laid off from a corporate wellness position with Northrop Grumman and basically fell into a program manager role for a public safety agency in Montgomery County, Maryland. So basically just decided, hey, well, I don't know the job. So the best way to know the job is to feel the job as best I can. Again, blood and guts, not doing that part. But I took CPAT, which is the physical test to get in, 24-hour ride-alongs, really tried to understand the job and then started trying to figure out how nutrition fits into that lifestyle aspect of the job. So, yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah. And you've been doing it now, you said, for how long?
About 8 years.
About 8 years. Yeah. And firefighters, they're, well, all tactical athletes, really, whether we're talking about military, police, first responders. I mean, they're a unique population. I think anybody listening to this who works in that field has probably felt frustration around working with health professionals, we'll say, who don't always have like an intimate familiarity with like the ins and outs of their job.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So having someone like you who works specifically with those individuals is always kind of and I experience it too. They're always kind of relieved to be able to work with someone who has like some intimate knowledge with what goes on kind of on their day-to-day lives, and they can speak to how to manage their nutrition, their lifestyle, just kind of all the things that go along with that unique profession. And we've been wanting to do this for a while. I think we talked about it a long time
It might have been
ago.
when I was with Montgomery County, and I've been with Fairfax for almost 4 years now. So
yeah,
we're doing our best. Time flies when you're yelling at firefighters to eat their vegetables.
Yeah, and I totally take the blame for that one. I think we had it scheduled. And then I think I moved it, and I can't remember why.
I think you moved.
Was that long ago. That might have been it. There was a lot going on during that time in my life.
Fair. It's okay.
Yeah.
Still here. I'm still stuck with the firefighters, right? Or the firefighters are more stuck with me.
Yeah. There's always something going on, right? Yeah. But we should have definitely done this years ago. I'm in the process of moving again. So we bought a house, staying in town, moving again. And you guys just welcomed a new little Lautz not too long ago.
Lil Olive. Yep. She's 8 months now. So surviving, maybe not thriving.
Already 8 months.
I know. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think I married my high school sweetheart. So we've been together 16 years now. I was pretty clear off the bat that, I was not going to be the primary parent by any means in this scenario. So we ended up pulling him part-time not that long ago to help with like childcare. My parents help with it. So basically all that to say is like, I have a lot of support. So like a lot of times I hear from moms like, oh, how are you doing all the things? Like, it's because like my one identity is not being a mom. You know what I mean? Like it's part of my identity, but it's not my one thing. Right. I really enjoy my career. I really enjoy working with first responders. And I really kind of enjoy pushing the limit because there are like no dietitians really specializing in this space. So it's really exciting to me. Right. So Yeah, it's been a balance because my business has just continued to scale a lot faster than I thought it would. So, I'm lucky to have a flexible job with my full-time gig, a flexible situation at home so that I can kind of make everything happen.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Uh, so let's kind of like talk about that because the work you do with, Fairfax or other departments in your private practice,
Mhm.
what does that look like on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. So, initially when I made the transition from Montgomery County to Fairfax, I want to clarify, like working for Montgomery County and Fairfax was not through my business. I'm actually like a W-2 employee of their health clinics. So the Fairfax gig was from my business. Like I did some consulting for them, and they were like, "Do you want a full-time job?" And I was like, "Okay." And then they made me a full-time job in 2 weeks, which is like unheard of. Like that's not a thing.
That's
uh,
actually amazing.
yeah.
Because usually they got to fight for the funding for that.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, but I think
Yep.
you do a really good job. I've seen it on your website. You do a really good job of illustrating, I think, return on investment. So is that kind
Yeah.
of like the situation there?
So essentially what happened with Fairfax, so this was right around, it was 2021. So Montgomery County put me behind a desk during COVID, and I don't like that. Like, I'm not a desk lady. I am a go yell at the firefighters in their own environment lady. So
Same.
yeah, it just, and they were like, we'll maybe get you back out in the field in 2022. And I was like, I don't want to make any more copies of things. Like they just had me at a copy machine all day. Like what? Um, Fairfax actually, what they did was Jake, the strength coach, they were doing a mandatory non-punitive mandatory fitness test, basically at their physical. And if you failed that fitness test and then failed your treadmill, you could get pulled to light duty for 9 months. So basically, they wanted to incorporate a dietitian with that to help people lose weight and get fit and get what they needed done. And so after that went pretty well, we saw at least 2 of them bought in, 2 of them didn't, right? So 2 of them left because they weren't going to do the things. 2 of them bought in, lost the weight, did what they needed to do. And then they just were like, you know what? I think we want to actually expand our wellness program. And since 2021, Fairfax went from like essentially 1 strength coach to 4 strength coaches, 7 behavioral health coordinators, dietitian. We're hiring a nutritionist, and what else? Athletic trainer, physical therapist. So our wellness program internally has just like exploded. Keep in mind, though, they are very well funded from the community, but they also have a strong value for wellness.
Yeah, and guess that's pretty unusual to find in a fire department. Like we know, like the military will throw money at wellness programs. To see individual departments, whether it be fire or police, I mean, you don't really see that frequently.
No, and I should also add, so when that explosion happened, what happened was police was starting to be like, oh, wait, fire has this like dietitian and trainer. Like, why don't we have that? So what they ended up doing is combining the funding. So now our wellness program is kind of designed like sport, right? Where you have all these resources, but it's also combining police and fire. So fire and police now have access to me, the strength coaches, the behavioral health. We've added sheriffs, we've added dispatch. So basically, that's allowed us to have more funding, more resources.
Yeah, that's amazing. So let's kind of talk, like about the day to day in the work that you do about, like the behavior change pieces, maybe the nutrition pieces. Like, what are some of the things that you do to get firefighters engaged? What are some of the struggles you see specifically, and how do you work through those barriers?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're coming from the general population into first responder space, there's a lot of pros that will just overlook the exposure to trauma, the high stress jobs, the intermittent, like sometimes you're working really hard physically, and sometimes you're sitting on your butt. And the sleep deprivation, right? Like they just overlook all those things. And they're like, why aren't they making changes? Well, they're not making changes because you didn't lower the bar enough. And I know that no one wants to hear, especially in the first responder or military space, lowering the bar. Like you should just suck it up and do it. But sucking up and doing it isn't happening. So the way to get people to change is actually to lower the bar, right? To give them ladder rungs to get to that second story window, because these vegan diets, the 75 hard, it's a lot of times asking them to get to a second story window without a ladder.
Yeah.
So my first 3 rungs, I like to say, are the like fast food, frozen food, non-perishable items. We start there, and then we can start talking about maybe macros and calories if that's something people are interested in. But that's kind of the one-on-one. And then I do a ton of smoothie demos, a ton of wrap demos. I don't know how many. I think I did like 10 in the past month. It's been out of control.
I do see you post them online.
Yeah, it's all the time. Well, so what had happened was the lieutenant for police side was like, hey, can you do a couple roll call demos? And I was like, sure, I'll do a couple. And then he signed me up for 16 of them at 5:30 in the morning. I'm not a morning person.
Yeah, no, me either. Are you, so I have like sort of that nighttime, what do they call that? The owl?
Then I'm neither one.
Yeah.
I'm the permanently exhausted pigeon. That's where I fall. Like I'm not like I go to bed at 7 or 8, and like I prefer to wake up at 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Which is probably clinically a problem. But I also have an 8-month-old waking me up every 2 hours, so it's it's.
Yeah, it's my 6-year-old still wakes me up in the middle of the night. So
Yep.
Yeah, good stuff. No, I totally, I am forced to wake up extremely early in the morning for kids, like regular job stuff. And it's absolutely terrible. My preference is to actually sleep in a little bit and then stay up horribly late in the nighttime. I feel like I do my best work between 10 p.m. and like 2 a.m. when nobody's messing with me.
Makes sense.
Which is terrible. I think I have some of that like bedtime revenge procrastination going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I also just don't want to be interrupted. I get interruption rage when I'm like in deep work. So it's just easier for me, like if I'm working on the big stuff, to just do it in the middle of the night. So I try not to do that too frequently though, because we do have early mornings. But that's definitely me. You did pop out for a second, so just so you know, like Riverside does keep recording no matter what.
Good.
So
Okay, I accidentally pressed the wrong button.
It shouldn't make a
difference. I was
difference.
kind of hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm doing this like all the time. Like in sport, you'll see like sports dietitians after every practice or many practices making smoothies and making wraps after. Like we don't have that kind of bandwidth for 3,000 members, you know what I mean? But what I like to do is, number one, first responders are very food motivated. So if I give them snacks, maybe they'll listen to me for 5 minutes. And then number two is if they like the snacks, especially wraps and smoothies, they're super portable, easy things that they can make that motivate them to maybe try that meal prep. So, 2 things at once.
Definitely. I always have snacks constantly.
All the time. Pocket snacks.
Because I want my guys to know where to come when they need snacks.
Mm-hmm.
And, use it kind of as a forcing function. Have them in your pocket, right?
Yes. There's many times where I'm like, you haven't had a fig bar yet? Here you go. Or like, you've never done an applesauce pouch? Off you go,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Or they'll come to me for electrolytes and they'll just be like, hey, can I get some salt? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Right. And then that helps with a lot of rapport building to get them more comfortable with me. So I think, if you're a dietitian and you don't have the snacks, you're probably missing a big opportunity there.
Yeah, but also keep in mind, I'm getting a budget from Occ Health. Like they are giving me a budget, and I get reimbursed very well. So there's that.
Yeah. And I know as a dietitian, that's going to be like really program place, budget specific if you're in private practice. So if you can facilitate those things, great. I do like what you said about, hey, like, kind of starting with the basic things, not always going into calorie counting and meal planning, etc. right away. Meal planning in the sense that, hey, I'm counting calories, I'm counting macros, doing all of those very drill down, super specific, sometimes tedious things, right? Because they don't always have the bandwidth.
No.
And so when you're talking about the rungs on the ladder, they're not always going to have the mental bandwidth to be able to do some of those, I guess, high demand nutrition things right out of the gate. Sometimes they just need to, hey, less fast food. Let's maybe put a vegetable somewhere in there. Let's make it convenient. Let's make it easy. I actually just taught a class before we jumped on the video call today. I just taught a class to my private group about, hey, how can we still eat for performance without counting calories? So I think that's really fantastic that you mentioned that today. What are some other things to kind of think about? Like, let's say I'm a firefighter and I'm listening to us kind of just talk today. What are some things that you want firefighters to be thinking about outside of that? What are some things that can help them with those rungs on the ladder?
Yeah. And basically, like, part of the reason I start there is because, like, the job is just so unpredictable that a lot of times these are very type A personalities who are easily distracted. Like ADHD is like low key a thing. And so having these backup options, it lets you have that like healthier option so that you can feel like you're still making progress, right? And it might feel like at least healthier than what you would have done before, right? So basically it helps people gain confidence to keep going, right? Okay, well, like I didn't get that perfect meal prep done today, but I do have some frozen options in my freezer that I can throw together really quick instead of just saying screw it and getting Five Guys, right? So it kind of helps prevent that screw it mentality when we set up the backup snacks. And then the other side of that too is regular fueling. So I think the biggest thing that I notice for 24 or 48-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts, wherever you're at, is that a lot of first responders will skip meals. And then that ends up crushing their energy levels, which then leads to energy drinks and overdoing caffeine. So when we're trying to get someone off of the caffeine or at least improve their energy levels, improve their workout, physical, mental performance, the more regular meals and snacks tend to do better because these groups, first responders tend to be burning more calories throughout the day than like, say, someone who sits at a desk most of the day like I do.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you put in that sleep deprivation, when you put in situations where you have to be wearing PPE or any type of load-bearing equipment, getting in and out of vehicles, right? Like all of those things are going to translate into higher demand for nutrients, both macro and micro. Certainly. And is this it? Like you also do the healthy-ish in your private practice, correct me if I'm wrong. So you have like the healthy-ish programs that you deliver. What's that about? Tell us a little bit about that and how the delivery for that works.
Sure. So I do a lot of public speaking. I would say the bulk of my business is primarily public speaking and less like one-on-one clients. Because I've noticed like this population of firefighters, like they're just not ready to spend that high ticket item for a coach, right? So the next best bet is to go to departments and then provide more like larger trainings. And so Healthy-ish is one of my most popular presentations. I've done it a gajillion times. And I think it's healthy-ish eating for firefighters. And I have healthy-ish eating for dispatch, healthy-ish eating for law enforcement. I've kind of just changed the language and the color scheme essentially. And the reason I think that's so popular is like, I think first responders, and I'm sure you notice this, like they're scared of us. Like they're scared we're going to come in and be like, just go vegan and suck it up. Right. Like
all the time.
Right.
Like why on earth would you think, well,
I get
mean,
it because they've been burned
reasons.
before.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I can't tell you how many departments I've been to where like, they were like, well, the last time we had a dietitian come in, she told us to just eat nuts and sticks and berries. And, she said that we could never have caffeine. And I'm like, okay, that's not going to be me. Cause you're going to put me on fire, not put me out. Like I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So I think just even like that name of the presentation, it might not be the catchiest thing, but like healthy-ish, like immediately brings their barrier down. Right. So it's kind of a very casual presentation. I'm still working on it so that like I really have it down, like I'm getting there. But talking about that ladder that I talked about, how to get off the, yo-yo dieting, on the plan, off the plan kind of vibes, and really kind of scaling up from where you are. And a lot of that presentation specifically is like specific tactics that day a first responder can leave and be like, I know what to pack in my go bag now. I know what to get from a fast food restaurant. I know that Dr. Jill Joyce told me that I'm supposed to hide the treats and keep the healthy stuff on the counters, right? So they feel like they have a lot of autonomy when they leave that presentation instead of leaving that presentation and feeling guilty and that they suck at everything. You know what I mean? And I think that's a huge difference compared to a lot of nutrition presentations that are given to first responders.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think some of the concerns that I always hear are that they don't have actionable things that they can take away from a presentation, or it's too general, right? And I think that's another reason why it's really important to work with a dietitian that's specific to your occupation and or goals. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. Like, not every dietitian is the same. Like, if you go see a dietitian in the hospital, they're not going to have the same skill set or knowledge that a sports dietitian is going to have, or a firefighting dietitian, or a police specific, or just like a tactical dietitian. You have IBS dietitians, you have celiac dietitians, very specific gut issues. There's dietitians that specialize in supporting thyroid disorders. And so when you're on the Googler, right, and you're looking for a dietitian, or you're being referred out to a dietitian, I think it's really important that people understand that we are not all the same, right? And so, like, I get a little, like, my panties get in a little bit of a bunch when I get online and people are talking shit about dietitians, and I'm like, well, what kind of dietitian did you go see?
Was it one that
Right?
you needed for what you are asking for? What is your goal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you go see a dietitian who's really only ever worked like in geriatric nutrition, and you're asking for sports specific recommendations, you're probably going to be really disappointed.
Yeah, they're going to tell you your protein's too high, and maybe your potassium's too high, but like it's just, that's a completely different population.
Too much sodium.
Yeah,
right?
too much sodium. The sodium thing. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Anyway, it just depends on the goals. It depends on what you're dealing with. And it still depends. The sodium thing too. If you're sitting on your butt in an air conditioned office as a chief, you don't need the same amount of sodium as someone on the line. Right. So
I think it's really important that people like just understand that we're not like all the same. Sorry, my son is like in the other room, like, and I can hear stuff happening, and it's like distracting me a little bit.
I get it. I'm waiting for Olive to lose her shit. Morgan has the flu, and it's not going well. It's just an absolute shit show over here.
I got my train of thought is back. Yeah. So all the time I hear it, I think these guys, they want that actionable stuff. They want like the very specific recommendations, and they do want to be empowered, right? So like I do more of the individual nutrition education, right? That's kind of like my bread and butter versus doing like a lot of departments or like group situations. And that's definitely like when I'm working with my guys, that's what they want, right? They want to know like, how can I take this information and actually apply it to myself in a way that's like, if you're not there holding my hand, I know what I need to do. Right? They don't want to, go into a nutrition discussion and be like, you need to eat more vegetables. Well, yeah.
But how? Right.
No shit. Like everybody knows that you need to eat more vegetables. Everybody knows how, or that you need to generally eat healthy and what that looks like. But the application a lot of times is what's missing. I think sometimes too, like, and I probably did this as a young dietitian, is we just have a tendency to like want to word vomit on people. And then it's just like, then it just becomes too much. Right. And so having like really specific boxes, topics, can be really helpful too, I think.
Yeah. I'm trying to shift more of my content to be more like stories and like humor related to like help, which I mean, I feel like I've always kind of had that. Right. But like I've always kind of just done like really dense content, and like my workshops now, I'm really starting to pare back on the content and try and just focus on like what the big important things I need them to know. And then like maybe leaving with a meal prep guide or like your grocery list and your snack bag, like so that it's a little bit more tangible. Right. And like people remember things more when you tell stories. So that's what I've been trying to focus on.
And I think for the tactical population specifically, like trust and rapport can be hard to build, so if you can give your education in a way that resonates with them, I think it goes a long way as far as building that trust and rapport so that they're more likely to listen to you. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter that you have RD after your name. Like I get it all the time. Hey, my buddy told me that he did this and it worked for him, so I'm going to do it too.
Yeah, carnivore is probably the bane of your existence too, isn't it?
Oh God. I've never been in so many internet fights in my life as when I talk about carnivore.
I've between that and seed oils, I need to make posts on, and I'm just like, it's just difficult because like I get it. Like you're all the content that you're getting served is carnivore pro or seed oil negative content, right? So like you're like, this is obviously the answer, but like you're not actually looking at what the body of the evidence suggests, you know? So it's like, it's difficult. It's difficult because it's just going to end up being an argument, and it just feels counterproductive to me.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, too, I can't remember the statistic, but the percentage of people who actually just get their news from social media versus even mainstream media are just, doing a little bit of internet searching themselves. And so they get like these 60-second clips of information that, and I will argue, or I will admit that like controversy gets views.
Yeah,
right?
It's rage baiting.
Yeah, and so sometimes I just piss off the carnivore people because it really shoves my
it
my
shoves your
real
stuff to the
views
top of the
up.
algorithm. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I'm just a people pleaser who really likes validation, particularly not validation that's mean to me. So I'm like, I need to get over this. I'm into therapy right now, working on that. But until the therapy has hit the way it needs to hit, I'm not ready.
Oh man, yeah, like I'm a little baby. Like sometimes I
like to push. Yeah, you're like, let me touch the hot stove. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, but that's, I think, because I'm on the other side of like the people pleasing. Like I've worked really hard the last 10 years to like say no, and to also just be like comfortable with disagreement. Right? Because like that's just like growing up. Like my parents, whatever. They're just very like right or wrong, right or wrong, right or wrong. I think that's where a lot of my people pleasing tendencies tend to come from, is just being like, okay, like I'll just
do whatever's right. Yep, this is fine.
let's keep things copacetic, right? And so, but yeah, I think I've had to work a lot the last 10 years on just being like comfortable with no, comfortable with confrontation, and I would say in the last few years, like just being comfortable with the idea of like, I can respect your opinion, but I'm going to tell you that I disagree with you, and I'm going to tell you why I disagree with you.
Right.
And you and I can still be friends and copacetic, but if you don't like that, then that's a you problem, not a me problem.
Right. Yeah. I'm still working on that mental processing. So we'll get there.
That's okay. I've been thinking about going to therapy for several months now. And I haven't done it yet. Because I got, my own shit to work out outside of that.
Well, don't we all? I mean, I feel like, and it's one of those things where I need to be held accountable. Like I haven't really had a coach for a really long time. So now I have a business coach and I have a therapist. And those are the two things that I feel like I need the biggest work on right now. So, and it's been really helpful because otherwise I just squirrel off and I'm not accountable. And I just keep saying yes to every damn thing and doing everything for free and doing everything to make people happy. And I need to be supervised. I can't keep doing this.
Yeah. And I think it's super accessible now too. So
yes. Mine's virtual.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's just, I mean, it's easy. I think more people are probably pursuing that route too because it's virtual. So again, totally going off on another tangent. Okay, so we talked about kind of like programming, nutrition, what you got going on. And then you also recently have been talking about a podcast.
Yes.
That you just released some episodes for. So talk to us about that. Like, what are some of the things that you're talking about on the podcast? How can we listen to it? Where can we find it? All that good stuff.
Yeah. So Fire Engineering now has a brand underneath it called Firefighter Nation. So I've been writing for Firefighter Nation, I don't know, until I guess last year since they started the brand. It's a website. And they recently started a couple different podcasts. So they ended up giving me a podcast that I call Fueling Fire. So if you look up Firefighter Nation podcasts on pretty much any platform, you'll find them. and it's getting posted at least once a month, ideally twice a month. So what I'm doing is once a month it's an interview, and once a month it's just me riffing on whatever topic I want. So the last topic was caffeine, because God knows I can go on that tangent for 84 years. But yeah, basically it's just interviewing different people in the field, different dietitians. I am going to call you, but I didn't want to interview you now just for it to come out in September. It's hard not to just kind of hit the ground running and start calling every single person you know. But yeah, so basically that's for the firefighter who wants to learn more about nutrition or hot topics. Like we just had Mike Connor from Frontline talk about TRT, which I know you have feelings about. Maybe it was a little too anti, but I just want people to have the information. Is basically the goal of that is the goal of that podcast, is to think a little bit more away from but my guy at the station is doing it and everything's perfect for them, and think of more about the potential repercussions and not just focus on the benefit.
Yeah. That's a big topic that we talk about too, is just, hey, like there's nothing wrong with HRT, TRT if you need it. Right. But you have to also consider, what are the risks? Are you really, are you addressing the things that are affecting your hormone levels that you have control over right now?
Yep.
And if you are, and you still need it, then you should get the help that you need. Right. I think one of the things that I really appreciate is that some of the stigma around HRT, especially in the tactical population, is starting to go away. And it's becoming more accessible. But I think there's still just a huge risk for abuse. And when I say abuse, what I mean is like getting it illicitly, taking extremely large doses, right, when you don't really need to, and then not being cognizant of what's going on with your metabolic health. And then, like if you're taking TRT and you still drink like a fish and you sleep
you're not sleeping, you're not paying attention to stress. And I feel like I see a lot of that in that like 30-year-old age group, where they're just like completely blind to the lifestyle stuff. They don't want to change it. They're not ready to change it, but they're willing to take something that's pretty risky at that age range. Right. But, and they're just getting it through these clinics. Right. That's the population I'm concerned about. Of course, when you get later 40s, 50s, and it's actually a problem, then do it. Right. If you're doing the right things in addition to the lifestyle stuff.
Yeah. Do you ever get on Reddit?
Oh, no, I try to avoid Reddit because I'm scared.
Oh my God.
That's probably a nightmare. Stay away.
Just stay off of it. Okay, like some dude posted a Reddit the other day. He was like, hey, like I'm getting ready. He's getting ready for military selection. So but he's like, yeah, like physically I'm good to go. He's like, I just want to get on a cycle for aesthetics.
No. Well, then what happens when you get off? The aesthetics go away.
Yeah. So they just tore him to shreds.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just kind of ask.
I didn't say anything. I was just like kidding at the window, like with my popcorn.
Yeah,
that's the wrong reason, man.
Yeah.
Especially like this guy, I think he was like 28 or something like that. And then
right. Well, but it's hard because then again, one person does it. That you only see the surface level benefit, and you don't see the potential long-term consequences. And I get it. It's difficult. You don't want to look into it. You just want a fix soon. And unfortunately, I just feel like there's a lot of people who are making some mistakes there. I mean, I don't think it's compared to the military, hard to potentially get hormone replacement therapy. Like the VA can be very difficult. I'm assuming that's who most people are dealing with for you.
Yeah, just the requirements for obtaining TRT through the VA and even on active duty is their standard is too low. Like I think the VA, like they don't consider you as having low T until you're like 190 or below. Yeah, like it's super low. And then you have to have 3 low readings in a row over the course of like 18 months. So yeah, like it's terrible. And if you have one high reading, like above whatever their
they're going to just write you off. Yeah.
Yeah, then you have to start all over. And that's assuming that you even get a doctor who's going to test you anyway.
Yeah, I could see why that would be frustrating on your end, because like our guys are and girls are more dealing with like Gen Pop docs for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, and we're starting to see Occ Health clinics add testosterone as a marker, you know, in their blood work. So
yeah, conventional army, especially active duty, can be really difficult. You know, special operations is a little bit different as far as like what they consider low testosterone. But there still can be barriers just across the board, no matter what. And then just also there is like a practicality consideration too. I mean, arguably, you can argue that a large percentage of the military population probably needs some form of supplementation.
sure.
Especially if they've been in for quite some time. Just because, just like firefighters, the job is not conducive to optimization all the time when you're looking at sleep deprivation, under fueling, so stress.
Right. Missing
So
workouts, that kind of stuff.
yeah. Yeah. So I think there's like practical and budget considerations there too, which I understand, but it's still, I think I would like to in the future see them loosen their grip a little bit on.
Yeah, because there's people who need it who are then not getting it. Like both ends
Right.
of the spectrum are not good, right?
Yeah,
So,
and most guys are willing to pay for it on their
Yeah.
own because they want to feel like a man, you know, like a healthy, fit male. You know, we're already having issues with that in the military, just with
Right.
meeting physical standards. And I think most guys would take that upon themselves, you know, if they needed it to pay for it on their own. But the problem is, you know, if you're part of the DoD and you, even if you are paying for it on your own, through a medical provider, a lot of times it's still going to be prohibited.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and it's still a lot of times it's cost prohibitive too, because $250 a month, you know, or more.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, if you're paying less than $200 a month, you really like, then you have to look at how reputable your source and your clinic that you're using is. So I think, again, you know, I think it's great. I think you do it smartly and make sure that you're being monitored appropriately and managing your lifestyle. What are some of the other things, like coming up on the podcast? What are some things you have on the burner that you can tell us about?
Yeah, I have, well, Mike's still technically on the burner. He'll come out in March. Annette Zapp, Fire Rescue Wellness. She'll be talking about kind of wellness in general, and then we're going to bring her back to talk about that creatine paper that she put out for creatine use in firefighters. And then also, I think there was a second creatine myths paper that recently came out. So we'll talk about creatine there. And then I'm probably going to reach out, I haven't yet, to Diana Wynn to talk about supplements. Probably have both of you talk about supplements. I think a lot of people are interested in this supplement piece. So just kind of looking at interviewing different dietitians. Oh, I just had one to talk about a dietitian specializing in diabetes, to talk about like pre-diabetes and glucose management and how you don't have to just cut your carbs because that's what the doctor said. You know, so basically just trying to start to explore like how we can bring nutrition into the firefighter space. And I think a lot of people think it's like, oh, just eat your vegetables, but there's so much nuance, I'm sure you know, to firefighter nutrition, right? There's hydration related concerns, there's performance concerns, there's general healthy eating, there's high blood pressure, high cholesterol, pre-diabetes. Like there are so many ways that nutrition kind of fits into this space, that I just kind of want to start scratching the surface of.
Yeah, absolutely. Diane's great. We had a conversation not too long ago specifically around testosterone on the podcast. And then I think she's scheduled, we're going to be chatting here, I think at the end of the month. And we're going to be bringing on another dietitian as well, Callie from...
Oh, yeah, Callie's awesome too. Yep.
Yeah, so we're going to introduce her to the public. At some point, we just need to, whenever we go to one of these conferences that we always see each other at, we just need to sit down as a group and just do a gigantic...
Yeah, like a round table. Oh, boy. Yeah, you want to talk about a bunch of nutrition squirrels, like that's how I felt like CSP Day was. It was like, oh my God.
Oh, maybe that's why we do so well within
Yeah, we have just the
times
same
within the
amount of
meeting.
ADHD.
I'm trying to figure out, okay, like I'm in a situation where I'm like, has this always been a problem? Is it because I'm older? Like, not to give TMI, but I'm like potentially coming up on perimenopause.
Oh no.
And yeah, well,
yeah.
I'm in my 40s, and so like I'm on Reddit the other day, and I'm like,
If you
all
get
these.
Botox, like your skin is just magnificent.
Oh no, thank you. It's because my mother is Korean,
That'll do it.
so they got like that Asian don't
Do
raise
not
me
raisin. No,
thing
you
going
don't.
on.
Yeah, man.
I've been working it on my mewing, right? Isn't it?
Must be nice, man.
Have you seen this gum that you can get now that's supposed to be good for your jawline?
I mean,
Yeah,
I
it's called
just-
like Stronger Gum or something like
I
that.
have the attention span of a gnat. I don't pay any attention to eventually I'm gonna have to get something done,
Yeah, yeah. I don't even remember. I haven't a clue what we've talked about for the last hour.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, so that's what we were talking about. So, like apparently, like perimenopause and ADHD symptoms in women are similar. So,
wonderful.
if you
So it's gonna
have
get worse.
ADHD, if you have ADHD, as you get to perimenopause, it can actually exacerbate your symptoms. Or if you don't have ADHD, it can actually manifest as ADHD symptoms.
Wonderful. I don't
Yeah,
have
so I'm
time.
like, well, yeah, I'm like, maybe I need HRT.
I'm just
maybe it's that
hoping that I
time.
told my husband that as soon as I get the hot flashes, just take me out back and shoot me. I'm not doing this again. Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think about 48s when it's going to happen. Yeah. Turns out if you breastfeed,
yeah.
you get hot flashes.
Oh, yeah. My body was all fucked up.
I'm very
after I
not
had
well
my
right
last
now.
one.
It's just a hot mess express over here, but we won't get into details because anyway.
Do you have any bald spots? I had like horrible bald
Yeah,
spots.
there's the little bangs are coming in. Like you can't see them, but anyway, it's been fun.
Like 75% of my audience is male, and I'm sure they're super enjoying.
Oh yeah,
this
that's fine.
conversation
But
right now.
listen, the amount of times I've had to listen to like talks about your balls. Listen, it's my turn. It's my turn to ruin your lives.
Absolutely.
Like,
deal with it.
Yeah.
I know all of you guys are married, or you have at least a partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Who probably talks
Being a
about
girl
their
is hard.
issues. Yeah. Look, we're doing you a favor.
Yeah.
Right? We're letting you in on what's happening.
Like how? Yes, exactly. How this
from
baby
the
has
female
ruined
perspective. Me. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah. And well, look, I'll give you another funny story, and then we'll try to get back on topic, or we'll just cut it off.
Yeah.
Like my husband, for my son, was gone for like 20 months, right?
No.
For training and just gone. When my son was born, that sounds funny. My husband was not gone for 20 months.
Right.
And I got pregnant during that 20 months and then had my son.
No, I guess
Like,
that's true. Yeah, well, I was like, wait a second. That math ain't mathing there, Susan. What are you doing?
Like I was 4 months pregnant when he left.
Right. Had the baby, then he came back, then
Yeah. So he wasn't there for the birth. I actually had a C-section. So my girlfriend, and I don't think like a lot of hospitals will let you do this, but the hospital that I was at, I was like, hey, here's the situation. Like my husband's gone. He's military. Like, can we film the birth? So I filmed. My girlfriend was in the room with me.
Nope. Not doing that.
She filmed the entire thing.
Nope.
Like you see them.
Nope.
Like, and then they're like I have my microphone here. They like grab my child's head like this and like hold.
Nope.
And then like just the whole floppy, right? I as soon as my husband came home, I made him watch it.
Yeah. About if I could have not been there for the birth, I would have not been there.
Oh man.
Nope.
I planned it. Like my OB was like, hey, like, are you gonna try and do this naturally? It's my second child. I was like, no, can we just put it in the calendar?
Yeah, just schedule me. I don't even care.
I have stuff to do. Can we just put it in the calendar?
I get that. Yeah, because waddling around it, like the captain said at one point that I looked like Tim Allen when he found out he was Santa Claus. while I was working out and on the ground. So I couldn't even get up and beat him. So, like a little turtle, just like.
Oh my God. That's amazing. All right. Is there anything that we have not hit on that you want to hit on or promote before I cut this thing
I guess
off?
the workshops just in general.
Let's talk about your workshops.
Okay. Well, yeah. So the workshops I have are called Fueling Fire. And I also have a police version, Fueling LEOs. And these are like 4 to 6 hour workshops all about nutrition. And I also incorporate sleep a lot because I feel like that's the one thing that like there's not really there are specialists for it. But sometimes the dietitian has to address it. So those are designed to help train peer fitness trainers to become force multipliers in the department for making realistic nutrition change when you might not have access to a dietitian, right? Because at this point, most departments don't have access, right? So those workshops, I come out in person, I make snacks, smoothie demos, wrap demos, and then we kind of, teach leadership and peer fitness trainers how to make your department better. So, caffeine, hydration, fueling strategies that are non-perishable, frozen, quick, and easy. So that's the focus, on the main challenges that the fire department has.
And if a department or someone wants to get information on that, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, you can go to my website, rescuerd.com, and then we can book a discovery call and kind of talk it out, see if it's a good fit for your department.
Yeah, and go ahead and give us your social media handle. Also, it should be easy to find.
Yeah, at rescue.rd. Pretty easy to find.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. So, okay. So I'm going to give you, let's do one more just like on the spot question.
Sure.
Okay. So give us your take on what is some of the most overrated nutrition advice that people follow.
I think the overrated thing is that nutrition has to suck. Like you're supposed to go on this diet and it's supposed to be miserable and you can never have a cupcake at your kid's birthday party or a beer at your captain's retirement. Like you can incorporate stuff that you like into your diet. It's just not all the time, right? And a lot of times that actually helps bridge that gap, that gray area that first responders skip over. They're either on the plan or off the plan. So if you're struggling with being on the plan and off the plan, maybe you just need to, cut back a little bit, but also keep it in your plan so you're not binging and just saying, screw it. And a lot of times having a dietitian helps supervise you, makes that a lot easier. So.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Well, thanks for being here today, Megan.
Yes.
Finally, we got it done.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. Hopefully people will listen to this and not think we're both insane.
Well, we are. So that's the fun news. At least we're sober for this conversation.
Yeah. Well, next time
we will
be.
I
mean, we can definitely do like a dietitians after dark situation.
God. Yeah. That's usually just goes south, but it's fine.
Yeah. I'm an easy drunk, so I'm getting like half a glass of wine in.
Done.
Yeah.
I'm mashed potato at that point.
I love it. Let's do it. We're gonna put it on the calendar.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I'm gonna let you get back to your family. I'm gonna get back to mine. I appreciate it, Megan.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one.